Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Biome podcast, a space for nurturing the ecosystem of business, body, and living. What would it be like if you gave your body a leadership role in your business and chose greater happiness every day? These are the conditions that create a healthy biome and a thriving business. I'm your host, Heather Nichols, and I'm so happy you're here. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Biome podcast. This week, I want to talk to you guys about a subject that I really love, that I find super fun, being an athlete in your business. This is something that has really been percolating in my own world in the past few years. I've always been very athletic and loved a lot of different, sports and activities and things like that. And I always had a lot of ease. I've always had a lot of ease with my body and movement and things like that. One of the, just like parts of, I just love bodies. I love my body. I love playing with it. I love moving it. And partly why I bring so much body stuff to everything that I do is because I think it's just such a key aspect of our creative world that gets ignored. And a few years ago, it was 3.5 years ago or so at this point, I had this out of the blue. My body just asked me, I want to go figure skating. And I was like, okay, well, that's strange, because it wasn't something I ever did as a kid. I did like maybe for like a month or something. It was like a tiny bit, but nothing ever serious. And I was like, I was 49 years old, and I was like, okay. But it was really clear, and it was really loud, and it was really, my body was really persistent about it. And this was literally just out of the blue. And side note, really came from me asking the question, what can I add to my life that would be fun? And what could I add to my life for my body? At that time, I was looking for something different with my body, a different type of movement that I could do. So I just started asking. And so I found an ice rink shortly, like a few days later, and just didn't have a point of view that I was going to like become a figure skater, but I just decided that I would try and see what it was like. And I got on the ice and I absolutely loved it. And I couldn't skate very well. Skating is it's a precision sport for sure. But I really loved the feel of gliding and everything about it, like the feel of the rink, the smell of the rink, the sounds of the blades on the ice. Like it was all just like such a feast for my senses, and the feeling of moving. And there were so many things that I wanted to do that I couldn't do. So I kept going, and I got a coach, and I, got skates, and actually started really training and learning and really dedicating myself to becoming a really good figure skater. And the thing is, becoming a good figure skater is something that takes years. It's really a big learning curve. It takes a lot of practice, a lot of coaching, I would say. I don't know that figure skating is the kind of thing you could just kind of pick up on your own and know how to do, because there's a lot of information that's actually really helpful. And so it was the first sport or first like thing that I ever did with my body where I really required to approach it with the energy of being an athlete. Everything else I had done, I had done a lot of ballet as a kid. I had done I like all kinds of dance and yoga, and I was a diver in high school, gymnastics, like all those kind of like individual sports. And I guess I did approach those as an athlete, but I never really thought about it like that. I just was sort of like, I like doing this. This is what I want to do, so I'm going to do it. But figure skating, it was definitely like the thing that was, required the most of me. If I was going to get good, I needed to really commit to it. And I did. And I, I wouldn't even say I'm a good figure skater now. Like there's still is a lot. I mean, and the thing about it is that there's just so much, there's so many, like, there's so much to the basics of it. Like you have to learn how to control your edges. There's actually two edges on the blade of an ice skate. A lot of people don't know that. There's an inside edge and an outside edge, and where you are along the length of that edge on the inside, on the outside is, it makes a huge difference. And, an eighth of an inch can be, or can be like, make the difference between being able to do a move and not. And then your whole body's on top of it and your whole body's moving and spinning. And so you have to develop the precision in your body to be able to be on the blade in that spot and hold it in order to do the move and then transition into something else. So it requires a lot of precision, a lot of intrinsic strength in the body, and insane amounts of practice. And one of my coaches that I had early on told me, a lot of times, like, once you do a move 10,000 times, you'll be good at it. And I also I bring a lot of magic to everything that I do. I don't buy the point of view that has to be how it is. So I take all of those things with a grain of salt. But I do use everything as information for me to have more awareness and check it out with my world and my body. And it was very clear that to me, I was like, I'm not going to count to 10,000, but there really is a sense here of there's mastery required in order to move with the sense of safety and a sense of control on the ice. Because if you're not in control when you're skating, that's basically where it becomes dangerous. Like you can fall and really hurt yourself. And that was not something that I was interested in doing. Little kids, they're bendy, their bones are bouncy, I'm bendy too, but I just wasn't interested in spending a lot of time falling. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm going to really master this. And like the better I get at the slower speeds, the more I can do these moves, I can increase the speed and still have the control and the precision of what I'm doing and the execution of it with a lot of grace and ease. And what it's become for me is, and so I glean so many lessons from the rink and from skating. And I've done some videos on my YouTube channel, life lessons from the ice rink. We did a little kind of there's a few, maybe there's a playlist, I'm not sure, but I've done some of those over the years. And I take a lot of what the awareness I have from skating, and I bring it into my whole world, my whole creative world and my business world. And one of the things that I love, like all the things that I've just talked about, can totally apply to business and the biome, like the creation of your everything, your whole life and living. And one of the things that has been a really key piece for me that I've really learned in a different way from skating is like the more I stay with the mastery of quote unquote the basics, the more I do, the more I practice and master like every nuance of every millimeter of every move of the basic moves, like the basic control for figure skating. It's like the control of my edges, inside, outside, front, and back edges. The more all the other movements that I do later on down the road are so much easier. Like I can learn them quickly. I can do them with speed and grace and ease. But I don't spend time. It's like you never, like anytime I've ever jumped ahead to try to do a more advanced move without having mastered the elements of it, like the pieces of the mastery of my blades and the precision of that really requires, mastery, then it doesn't work, and I developed I've developed some bad habits with my skating that, interestingly enough, and this is kind of a story for another time, but I've just recently taken a big break from skating because I had to handle some things going on with my body and come back to it. And I've come back to it with a totally different, it's like my skating is completely improved because I've been able to let go of a lot of the bad habits. You just get out of I haven't skated much in the past 6 months. I've skated maybe twice or 3 times. And so I'm coming back to it now, and I'm like, or coming to it again, I should say, not even back, but forward to it. And it's completely different now. And all those bad habits have just fallen away, which is really cool. So how do we translate that to business? Well, there's probably a lot of things popping for you that are obvious, that are woven through all of this. But one of the things I look at a lot with what I create and how I create it and my business is like, what's the platform that I'm creating from? And the platform of not just like my business systems, but so there's like the systems of my business, there's what I am being, and there's the clarity that I have about what I would like to create as a future. And so what is that? Like, what is that platform? And because if I have, those are sort of, to me, like kind of like 3 aspects that really create a thriving business. And when we actually spend the time and the energy to have the clarity of that, we really can move powerfully into any future that we would like to create, and anything we're asking to create in our businesses and our lives. It's easy. It's like I master my inside and outside, front and back edges in skating. So skating forward on the inside and the outside edge, skating backward on the inside and outside edge. I master that, and then I can do almost anything, And so I spend a lot of my time at the rink doing very simple movements: forward, inside, and outside edges, backward, inside, and outside edges. And there's a few different ways you can do that. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can do that, but that's basically what I practice. And then I bring in other things, and it's like, cool, that was easy because the platform, the basis, the mastery of the basics is there. And so being an athlete in your business, so take a look right now at what you're asking to create in your business. And this is like, right now, you may be watching this way down the road. But right now, as I'm recording this, and some people will see it when we release it, it's mid-December 2023, and we're, closing out a year, right? We're going into the new year. And so it's a time where a lot of people, we all kind of go, okay, well, maybe not all of us, but a lot of people go, okay, it's kind of a cool time to just have some new asks and, get a sense of what it is that you would like to, create for the new year and for the future. And there is like the beauty of a new year. I mean, it's a construct. Time is a construct. And yet it kind of just gives you this moment of like, you can play with it and be like, cool, fresh start. What would I like to create in my business and in my life? And with that, okay, so take a look at what it is, like, what are you asking for with your business right now? The business, and when I say business, I always mean the business of your life, which includes a business. If you are an entrepreneur, it includes your business, but really, because the biome, the entrepreneurial biome, to me is the health and the beauty and the aliveness of your whole life and living. And that's where, the whole biome has to be healthy. If there's any part of the biome that is not healthy and thriving, then it will diminish the whole rest of the biome. That's how it works. So look at the biome of your whole life and living. And what is it that you are asking for? The more that you would like to have as your future, the greater maybe it's greater money flows, maybe it's a different creation in your business, or maybe you're like branching into a new market. Maybe there's some new revenue streams that you would like to add. Maybe there's a sense of like, I'd like to have more time for me next year, and more money, which is totally possible. So what are the things that you're asking for in your life, the business of your life, including your business? So just get a sense of that. And if you aren't sure, you could even just pause this and kind of ponder it and come back in a moment. But look at, so let's look at these three pieces. Okay, so do you have a sense of clarity of ask? Like, do you have a sense of clarity of what you desire? And a lot of us, like creatives, we're like, I'd like to have this, I was talking to somebody last night that was like, there's a whole bunch of different options for where I could go with my business. And I was like, great. Now, you may want to get clear on exactly what those options are without excluding new possibilities popping up. But be clear on what they are so that you can actually choose which one you would like to have and ask for that. Like, ask the universe, demand of yourself to create it. Because when you have a clarity, it changes your whole future. It changes your outlook. It changes your perspective. It sets you on a trajectory that is totally flexible and can be adjusted down the road depending on what gets created and what shows up. And that's the beauty of like being responsive, to what shows up. And it's also like, if we're not clear, we're just kind of flailing around, and we don't really know what to do and how to do it. I did Last week's episode was on priorities. So you may want to listen to that if you haven't. It was just kind of a quickie on how we use our time. But priorities is really a big one with this. And we can talk more about that in a future episode as well. But how clear are you on what you're asking for? And not from a sense of controlling, not from a sense of trying to force something, but a sense of like, this is the future I would like to have. And there's a whole conversation from there. And as I am talking about these things, I'm realizing this is going to turn into a little 4-part series, because I would like to dive into each of these individually. So there will be future podcasts about all of this. But just for now, it's like, if you don't have a sense of clarity, because when you have a sense of clarity of what you like to have, the energy is clear. And then you can choose whatever shows up in your world that matches that energy, which is how we get out of trying to force something into existence. So how clear are you on your asks? How clear are you on your direction and what you would like to create? Okay, now the second piece of that is, how willing are you to receive that? Because there's a whole aspect of the biome that is about what we're being, who we're being, how we're being. That is it plays a huge piece in the health of the biome, and actually in the success of our businesses and our lives and our creative world. If you're not willing to be something different, if you're not willing to be more, what you're able to receive will be diminished. And that really hampers what you can create, because you might be clear on your ask, but if you're not willing to be the person that can create that and receive that, then you won't. Like, that will stop it right there. So what are you being? Are you willing to be different? Are you willing to be more? Are you willing to be greater? I would say that's one of the absolutely key elements of creating a greater life, living reality, and really showing up as that the energy of the athlete. It's like, okay, when I get on the ice, like, I can't just be like, well, I really just want to be able to do this and I can't. So, I'm pissed about it, or keep practicing some move that's way too advanced for me and like carve all these bad habits into my body. It's like, no, if I'm an athlete, I am going to do exactly what I know I need to do, even if sometimes it's a little boring, which it actually isn't because I know what I'm creating, but it could be seen by somebody else as boring. But it's like, I know that this is what's required of me in order to be great at this, and being an athlete in your business is about being great. It's about having a great business. It's not about mediocrity. I don't think you'd be listening to this podcast if you were interested in mediocrity. This is not about mediocrity. So you got to be willing to be different than the rest of the world. And the last piece is, are the systems in your business robust enough? Are they strong enough? Are they organized enough? Do you have support staff, things like that allow for the movement of this into the world? So you have the clarity of your ask, you have the willingness to be more, and you have the systems, the people that allow for what it is that you're asking for to flourish and be grown into the world, be nurtured into something greater. And a biome is an incredibly complex organic system that is always evolving and contributing to itself, and making itself greater. A healthy biome is always making itself greater. And you can facilitate that if you know what is required. So this is kind of, I didn't even realize this is what I was going to do, but this is an overview today of some elements that, with being like, if you would like to be an athlete in your business, if you would like to really create something dynamically great, like different. I mean, for me, like becoming a really, really good figure skater at the age of currently 52, that's weird, but I'm like, I know I do often skate next to 14-year-olds that are really, really good, and you're considered kind of like an older skater if you're like 16, but it's like, no, this would just be fun for me. I'm weird, I'm different, and I'm willing to be, as far as I'm concerned, I'm totally 16, so I will always be 16. To create something really different, really great, really clear, far greater than you've ever created before, there is a level of like energetic athleticism and presence and commitment to what you're creating that is required. And so over the next 3 episodes, this just got created, just as I was talking today, I'll go more into these pieces. And then also I have, and this is kind of time sensitive, but I at the end of December 2023, I do have a 2-part call coming up called Getting Clear for the New Year. And that is December 27th and 28th, I believe. It's on my website, heathernichols.com. And it'll be in my shop if you hear this later. And I also have this beautiful, incredible program called the Generative Business Pods that is a 6-month business creation intensive where we really go into all of these things in depth. So it's a very robust, beautiful, in-depth, energetic business creation program where we explore all of this. And there's going to be one of those that is opening up January 22nd, 2024. Again, if you're hearing this way later, you can look at my website, or generativebusinesspods.com is the landing page for that, for future business pod creations. And so check it out and see if maybe that's something you'd be interested in looking at as well. And then Getting Clear in the New Year is actually included in the business pods this time. So So I will be back next week with more on getting clear and all these other juicy aspects of being an athlete in your business. And thank you. Thank you for you. Thank you for listening. And thank you for being. Talk to you next time. Thank you for joining me for the Entrepreneurial Biome podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe. For more resources, check out my website at heathernichols.com and my social media channels as well. Have a beautiful day, and remember that your business thrives when you do.